1. We're live.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sandra Kilgore, Vice Mayor, and I'm Chair of the Board of Commissions Committee. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the January 10th, 2023 remote meeting. All Council Committee members and staff are participating remotely. To help our audience follow along, I'll state each section to the agenda aloud. We're streaming live on the Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website. We also have an option for the public to listen by phone. And for those of you who are out there with us today, we'd like to welcome you. For today's meeting, we have the option for people to call in and comment live during the meeting. And to call in and comment live, use the same number, 855-925-2801, meeting code 9478. Your phone will be muted and you will hear the meeting live. At this point, speakers will need to push option 3 to enter into the speaker queue. At this time, I'd like to go through and introduce all the committee members and staff who are participating remotely. Council and staff, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. Antoinette Mosley.
Hello.
Councilwoman Kim Rooney.
Good afternoon.
Assistant City Manager Ben Woody.
Good afternoon.
Deputy City Clerk Sarah Ross.
Hello.
Assistant Clerk Jerry Goldberg.
Good afternoon.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, what we'd like to do is basically go over some board commission appointments. And we basically have first of all, we'd like to approve the minutes from the November 15th. And do I have a motion?
This is Kim, so moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so now we could do a roll call. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kim Rooney.
Aye.
And myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore, aye. And now I'd like to ask, do we have any public comments? Do we have anyone in the queue?
We do not have anyone in the queue right now.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll move on to new business. And we do have a few appointments that we need to consider for board positions. The Asheville Area Riverfront Redevelopment Commission. We do have 2 vacancies on that board. However, we did not receive any applications. So we would like for that to be re-advertised. And then we have the Audit Committee, which also has 2 vacancies. And that one we received no applications, and that will need to be re-advertised. And I do want to make note that whoever applies for those 2 seats, they are basically for CPAs. So, okay. And now for Board of Adjustments, we have 2 vacancies for Board of Adjustments. Basically, the board chair has recommended the reappointment of Elliott Smith and the appointment of Christopher Fundanish. And he's currently an alternate. We also have received another application from Annette Wise. I just want to see if anyone would like to make a motion or a nomination for those boards.
I move to accept the board chair's recommendation for Elliott Smith and the appointment, if you would like it in the same motion, of Christopher Fundanish.
Okay.
Second.
And one thing I would like to note is it possible, I'm just checking, is because we do have the opening for Christopher Fundanish was an alternate, the possibility for including Antoinette Wise as the alternate for that position considered in this motion?
Are you
So I-
requesting a friendly amendment to my
Yes,
motion?
so I would like to do, yes, an amendment.
I'll accept your amendment.
I have a question, point of order. Is the alternate position open?
Well, right now, Christopher basically is in that position. So if he's been awarded the regular position, then it would become open.
Then I approve the friendly amendment.
Okay. So now we'll do a roll call. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney,
Aye.
and myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore, aye. Motion is passed. For the Historic Resource Commission, we have one vacancy. And the chair and staff liaison both have recommended the appointment of Alexander Ellenbogen. Would someone like to make a motion?
This is Kim. I move to recommend the appointment of Alexander Ellenbogen.
I'll second.
Okay. So now we'll do a roll call. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney,
Aye.
and myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore, aye. Motion passes. For the Homeless Initiative Advisory Committee, we have one vacancy, and the nominating committee recommends the appointment of Celeste Ordaway. Do I have a motion?
This is Kim. Before making a motion, I will note that we have a recommendation from the chair that though Celeste doesn't live in the city limits, we have been pursuing the seats specific to specific sectors that are required for HIAC as the lead on continuum of care. And so the recommendation is around those making access to healthcare possible, but also housing support services. With that, I make a motion to recommend Celeste Ordaway for appointment to HIAC.
I'm sorry, Kim. Is it possible that you can please, I just had to make some corrections here. Could you please repeat that?
Sure. I move to recommend the appointment of Celeste Ordaway to HIAC.
Okay. I'll second. So we'll do a roll call. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney,
Aye.
and myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore, aye. Motion passes. So now we're coming up with the Metropolitan Sewer District. There is one vacancy on this board. Present position is held by Mayor Mannheimer, who is eligible, and she has put her name in for reappointment. We also have a couple of other appointees, Chris Day and I'm sorry, and Jennifer.
Thomas?
Yes, and I
So
know
guess
that.
my curiosity around this, because this is a reappointment position, and it would be unsurprising if we didn't honor the reappointment. My curiosity is around why we don't have two vacancies on the MSD, because Councilwoman Whistler was our appointee to MSD. Do we have clarity that she's willing to continue in the role? And can we get some more information on how that position doesn't remain tied to the council position?
Okay, could Sarah, Jerry, could you answer that question for us?
Sure. Sarah, did you want to?
If you want to chime in, I'll take a stab at the first shot. So the council appoints 2 representatives to this board. Historically, there's always been a council representative. The vacancy that we're looking at is the mayor's term, which is expiring. Gwen Whistler's term doesn't expire until I think it's next year in January. So, but it's not a requirement that it be a council member. Historically, it has just to have that representative of a city member on MSD, but I don't believe there is that requirement.
Does Gwen still want to continue in that role?
We are not for sure. We haven't been able to contact her to confirm if she wants to continue serving. Her term is not up until next year, though, so she could continue serving unless she resigned.
When is the mayor's last day? I'm wondering if it's such that we could hold on this until the next meeting. Okay, Jerry, what?
Yes, the mayor's term expires January 19th. And just a point of clarification, Vice Mayor, we actually do appoint 3 to this board. Chris Pelly is the third, who is a city council appointee.
Thank you for that clarification.
So if I'm hearing correctly, because Chris is up there based on a unanimous recommendation of AHAC, if Gwen decides she no longer wants to continue, will this be open for us to appoint her seat in February? Is that?
Yes, if she were to resign, it'd come back for council appointment.
Okay.
That said, since we are looking at the single vacancy appointment and it is a consideration for reappointment, I move to recommend to council the reappointment of Mayor Vanheimer to the seat on MSD.
Oh, second.
Sandra, I'll second. Okay, thanks. And so now we'll do a roll call. We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney.
Aye.
And myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore. Aye. Motion passes. So now we have the Multimodal Transportation Commission. We have 1 vacancy, and the Multimodal Transportation Commission recommends the appointment of Joseph Chowler. Do I have a motion?
This is Kim. I recommend to council the appointment of Joe Chesler to the Multimodal Transportation Commission.
Second.
Okay. Now we'll do a roll call. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney.
Aye.
And myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore. Aye. Motion passes. And now we have the Sustainable Advisory Committee on Energy and Environment. There are 4 vacancies here, and current and incoming chairs recommend the appointments of Joel Osgood, Ashley Case, Alicia Goldstein, and Sophie Mulenek. Do I have a motion?
Vice Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out on this board that while we were researching this for the openings, we found that this board actually had specific sectors when it was established that were to be met. Those have not been in practice for as far back as I could trace it. This board was established in 2006. We are working with the board to clarify, straighten that out, whether they continue. If we continue with the sectors, then at some point we will need to move to fill those specific sectors. We are suggesting, though, that you continue with the appointments just sort of at large without tying them to specific sectors, because we don't have those, and allow us the time in the future to work with the board and the staff just to straighten that out through resolution. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you for bringing that up. Could you send us any sort of resolutions or documentation of SAC and what the sectors are that are outlined so that we could consider that in advance?
Absolutely. I'll get those to you today or tomorrow. Today's a busy day.
And I think, Jerry, you were saying before, the issue with that was because we were not receiving enough applications in those areas to actually sort of, use that. So that's the reason they sort of just went to the at large.
That would be my speculation. Of course, I wasn't around all those years. I do know with the power utility, there have been times when they did not choose to seat someone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can I get a motion?
I move to recommend the appointment of Joel Osgood, Ashley Chase, Alicia Goldstein, and Sophie Mullinax to the Sustainability Advisory Committee on Energy and the Environment.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. I would like to vote. Councilwoman Antoinette Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney,
Aye.
and myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore, aye. Motion passes. Now we have the last one is for the Urban Forestry Commission. There are 2 vacancies on that board, and the commission recommends the reappointment of Patrick Gilbert and the appointment of Chardon Dietrich. Can I get a motion?
This is Kim. I want to also note an appreciation for Patrick Gilbert as a very engaged member of the Urban Forestry Commission and its subcommittees. So I move to recommend to the full council the reappointment of Patrick Gilbert and the appointment of Chardon Dietrich to the Urban Forestry Commission.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And this is a roll call. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney,
Aye.
and myself, Vice Mayor Kilgore, aye. Motion passes. And now we'd like to turn this over to the county clerk's office for an annual report.
Yeah. So I'm going to highlight some findings on the annual demographics report. First, I want to highlight this is an annual report. We do this. We have been doing this since 2017 and have this report in January for the Boards and Commissions Committee. The number one thing I need to highlight, though, is when we look at the membership and the applications, the membership is only a snapshot of what we have who's seated in December. So it's not a full picture of how the boards fluctuate throughout the year, but it does give us an idea of demographics this one time a year in December. So if you're looking at the report, there's some trends for membership and applications. I won't go into too much detail, but I do just some standout demographics. For memberships, we did find that 68% of seated volunteers were white or Caucasian, 19% were Black or African American, and 15% Hispanic or like Latinx. One highlight at the end, you'll see an addendum is the word, which when you remove, and this was per request from a previous year, the Human Relations Commission, African American Heritage Commission, as well as the new Community Reparations Commission, the 19% of Black African Americans goes down to 11. So just a statistic to highlight there. There is a lot of good information. I'm not going to go through any details, but is there any questions or I guess I want to open it up to ways to improve the report or findings?
Kim?
Thank you. Sarah, I know I already mentioned this to you, and I just wanted to bring this into this meeting so it would be on the record. As we dwell and work on the ancestral land of the Cherokee people, I would suggest that we add a column for Indigenous, Native American on all the demographic forms, even if that data from self-identifying application processes results in a 0% in that column, just so that we can acknowledge the lack of representation, but also so there's visibility in our outcome review process.
And that would be an easy thing to update for future years. I've made a note for the folder.
Thank you, Kim, for that request. I think that's definitely something we need to have on the chart.
I will say that in some of the conversations that have been happening at the Human Relations Commission, HRCA, and in previous iterations of this group, there are conversations about ways to be inclusive, but also allow that self-identifying part of the application. And I am curious if someone is Native American, Indigenous, Asian, Pacific Islander, where does that show up in this chart? Because I see that there's a no answer. Should we ask staff to go into more detail on the application? What are the best practices through the processes that we've been participating in equity and engagement? Is that part of a conversation we need to be sharing with the equity and engagement new subcommittee of council? Like, what are some of the things staff is seeing as far as the best practice and how we can support that work?
And I can also first answer how this information was compiled. The current application form is free form, so applicants could put in anything they wanted. Sometimes it's just a W, sometimes it's just a black. So going through the data, I literally just write down everything. So what you see here is exactly what was named. In the future, one of the conversations we're having in the clerk's office is updating this application form. And what would make all of the process, including this reporting, easier is to have a drop-down box that is much more inclusive, where people are able to see where they fall or have the opportunity to rate more. So in the future, I think there's definitely an opportunity for better reporting. But what you're seeing here is exactly what was named on the application.
Thank you, Sarah, for that explanation. And I just, would appreciate as you're learning and looking at new processes, having an understanding for this committee would be helpful, but also the equity and engagement group. For example, I noticed that Hispanic, Latino, X, the current recommendations are to add an E to the end of that list. But if we understand kind of where staff is gaining understanding, then we might be able to work from a place of sharing, learning, but also support.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we'll move on to unfinished business, but we have no unfinished business. So now we'll go into, okay, you're not, okay.
Oh, we did move something to unfinished. We took it out of informal. My apologies.
Okay.
And that is an update on the Human Relations Commission appointments. At the last meeting in November, there were no applications for the Human Relations Commission. So the clerk's office was going to re-advertise. The commission currently has 11 members and 4 vacancies. However, the commission is pursuing the reduction of membership from 15 members to 9. And in November, the Boards and Commissions Committee moved to bring this change to full council to amend the ordinance. So staff and commission are working on that. So in light of that, we did not advertise until it comes before council and council votes yay or nay. We didn't want to put people on and then have to dwindle down. So I just wanted to update you on that.
And I'll just note, I believe that amendment to the Human Relations Commission membership is on tonight's council meeting. So that could be changed this evening.
No further unfinished business.
And then I will give just a brief update on the realignment working group. Linked here, I did do the most current dynamic report. If you have a moment, please check this report out. It's pretty neat. Public input generates it as survey responses come in. So we have a good idea right now. There's currently 147 participants out of the 350 or so members that this was sent to. That's a 42% response rate, which is pretty great. The survey is not closed. We don't have a deadline just yet. The realignment working group is tentatively meeting. I haven't gotten the confirmation, but looking at the 17th, where I believe they'll be picking a deadline to close this. And then we'll be able to start doing the analytics process. So good stuff ahead. Councilwoman Roney?
I'm not sure if other members had difficulty accessing this document, but it looks like we have to have an admin login in order to access the dynamic report.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I can update that. I wonder if I'll look into that, but thank you for sharing. We'll make sure you get the most.
It's not possible to have an admin for this body, then perhaps we could have some sort of printout or other, like a Google document, for example, using our existing systems for everyone to access the back end of information, whatever's easier.
Yeah, definitely. there's got to be a good way to do that. Thank you. And as our final update, just want to note that the boards and commissions annual reports, another annual process, is due on January 21st. So the clerk's office, we are currently getting those received to our office. We'll compile them and they will be on your February meeting. And we'll also try to highlight any specific recommendations that were made by the committees. So we'll see that next meeting. And that is it for updates.
Thank you, Sarah. And now, basically, do we have anyone in the queue? Oh.
We do not have anyone in the queue.
Okay, well, thank you. And does anyone have any other discussions that they would like to discuss at this time? Okay, so I guess we're adjourned. Thank you.